I turned 63 last spring, and I thought the hardest part of my life was already behind me. I was wrong. It was Thanksgiving morning when my phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. I already had the turkey soaking in brine, the table set with the good dishes Carol used to insist we only bring out for special occasions, and coffee warming beside me. For the first time in a while, the house didn't feel lonely. That's the part that still stays with me. I was happy. Really happy. The text came from my son-in-law, Marcus. "Ray, Lily's not feeling well. She says she's sorry, but she can't make dinner today. She'll call later." I read it again. Then one more time after that. Something about it sat wrong immediately. My daughter had never missed Thanksgiving. Not once. Not when she had the flu during college. Not when she was pregnant and exhausted all the time. Lily showed up for family no matter what. I called her phone. Straight to voicemail. I left a message trying to sound normal. Told her I'd save her some pie. But after I hung up, that cold feeling settled into my chest and refused to move. If you've ever ignored a bad feeling and regretted it later, subscribe, Six, because some instincts don't arrive quietly for no reason. By evening, the turkey had gone cold. Marcus sent one more message around 4. "She's asleep, don't worry." That was it. No call. No voice message from Lily. Nothing. I barely slept that night. I sat in the old armchair beside the front window, watching headlights pass every now and then, remembering all the years I used to wait up for Lily when she was younger. Only this time felt different. This time I wasn't waiting for a teenager who missed curfew. I was waiting for silence to explain itself. It never did. At sunrise, I grabbed my keys and drove north toward their rental property outside the county line. 40 minutes through frozen farmland and empty roads. The closer I got, the worse the feeling became. Then I saw the vehicles. 3 of them. None I recognized. A black Escalade, a silver pickup, and a white van with no plates. I slowed down before reaching the driveway and stayed parked on the shoulder with the engine running. The lights inside the house were on. Shadows moved behind the curtains. Marcus's truck was nowhere in sight. I called Lily again. Voicemail. Then Marcus. The line rang once before disconnecting completely. That's when I knew. Not suspected. Knew. Something was very wrong. I didn't drive up the driveway. I knew the property too well for that. There was a tree line running along the east side all the way toward the barn. I'd walked it before during summer visits, so I left the truck hidden near the road and moved through the trees instead. Every step felt louder than it should have. Frozen leaves crunching under my boots. Voices drifting from the house. Men. More than one. Low music somewhere inside. Cigarette smoke carried through the cold air. Then I saw the barn. The door was cracked open. That alone made no sense. Marcus was obsessive about locking up his equipment. Even during daylight, especially after dark. I moved faster after that. Kept low. Reached the side of the barn and listened. At first I heard nothing. Then breathing. Weak, painful breathing. The kind someone makes when they're trying not to cry out loud. I pulled the door open just enough to slip inside. One work light hung from the ceiling, casting yellow shadows across the concrete floor. And there she was. My daughter. Zip-tied to a support beam. Her face swollen. Lips split open. Still wearing the same blue pullover she'd had on 2 days earlier, when she dropped off a pie at my house. For 1 second, the entire world stopped moving. I can't explain what it does to a parent to see their child hurt like that. Something inside you changes instantly. Not panic, not fear. Something colder, more focused. My hand stayed perfectly steady. I crossed the floor and knelt in front of her. Her good eye opened slowly. "Dad," she whispered. Her voice barely sounded human. Then she grabbed my sleeve hard enough to stop me. "You have to leave," she whispered. "They're inside." I cut the zip ties anyway. She winced as feeling returned to her hands. "Can you walk?" I asked. She nodded. "Can you run?" Another nod. Then she looked at me with tears filling her eye. "Marcus tried to protect me," she whispered. "But these men, they're going to kill him." I didn't ask questions. Not yet. Questions could wait until she was breathing safely somewhere else. I guided Lily toward the back wall of the barn, where I remembered an old window sitting low near the ground. While I worked the rusted latch open, she whispered fast through shaking breaths. "Marcus owed them money," she said. He got trapped in some business deal and couldn't get out. They came Thanksgiving morning. I helped her through the window first. The frozen ground outside cracked softly beneath us. Then she grabbed my arm again. They hurt him, Dad. I looked toward the house. The back porch door had opened. A man stood there smoking with his back turned toward us. We had seconds left. Stay close to me, I whispered. Then we ran. I'm not exaggerating when I say those were the hardest 50 yards of my life. My knees felt like broken glass. Cold air tore through my chest, but fear does strange things to a father. You stop feeling your age. You stop feeling pain. All you feel is purpose. We reached the tree line just as the porch light flicked brighter behind us. Neither of us looked back. When we finally reached my truck hidden off the road, Lily collapsed into the passenger seat, shaking so hard I thought she might pass out. I drove calmly at first. No speeding. No panic. You learn over time that panic gets people noticed. About 2 miles down the road, Lily finally spoke again. They still have Marcus. Her voice cracked apart saying his name. He tried to stop them, that's why they separated us. I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. Listen carefully, I told her. I'm not calling local police. She looked at me in confusion. Then I told her something Marcus had mentioned months earlier about Sheriff Briggs taking payments to overlook permit violations tied to contractors around the county. At the time, it sounded like small-town corruption. Now it sounded like something much worse. If these men have connections, I said quietly, I'm not risking your life by trusting the wrong person. We went straight to Mercy General. Doctors rushed Lily into treatment the moment they saw her condition. While they checked her ribs and cleaned the cuts on her face, I locked myself inside the hospital restroom and made one phone call. My brother-in-law Dennis had retired from the FBI years earlier. When he answered, I told him everything. The house, the men, the barn, the missing Marcus, then silence. 5 long seconds of it. Finally he spoke. Ray, don't leave that hospital. Something in his tone chilled me more than anything I'd seen that morning. Within 2 hours, a federal agent named Paulson arrived. Young guy, sharp eyes, the kind that noticed everything. He sat beside me in the waiting room and lowered his voice. We've been tracking those men for 8 months, he said. Then he looked me dead in the eye. And if you hadn't gone back for your daughter this morning, she probably wouldn't have survived another night. If you're still watching right now, subscribe. Because sometimes ordinary people are forced into moments that change the rest of their lives forever. The raid happened less than an hour later. Federal agents surrounded the property before most of the men inside even realized they'd been compromised. All 4 were arrested. Marcus was found beaten badly in the kitchen but still alive. Another 12 hours, the doctors said, and he might not have made it. Sheriff Briggs was suspended 2 days later. By February, he was facing federal charges alongside the same men he'd been protecting. Turns out the whole thing ran deeper than any of us understood. Money laundering, extortion, bribes. Marcus cooperated fully once the investigation began. He admitted he'd gotten trapped trying to keep his business afloat and spent months believing he could fix it himself before it destroyed his family. He was wrong, but Lily stayed beside him through all of it. I'll be honest with you. Part of me struggled with that. A father doesn't forget seeing his daughter zip-tied to a concrete post. But healing doesn't always look the way we expect it to. A few months later, the Thursday before Thanksgiving, Lily showed up at my house carrying grocery bags and smiling for the first time in what felt like forever. We cooked together all afternoon. My granddaughter sat at the kitchen table drawing horses that looked more like dogs with extra legs. And for a few hours, life felt normal again. At one point, my granddaughter climbed into my lap and fell asleep against my chest while everyone talked around us. I remember sitting perfectly still so I wouldn't wake her. That moment taught me something. Sometimes the people we love don't need perfection from us. They just need us to show up when it matters most. If this story touched you, subscribe. Because the world needs more reminders that love still fights back. And tell me below, what's the furthest you would go to protect someone you love?